Hello, this is Catherine from Accelerated Reader, reading books for you. Today, I will be reading Chapter 10 from Zimbie by Surina Nel. Before I begin reading, I would like to give a big thanks to the author for sending me this book to read on my channel. In the description below, I've included links for me to find and purchase this book. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Chapter 10. Grass sways in the gentle breeze. A hawk glides through the blue, cloudless sky. Gracious! He lets out a screech. Thunderous hooves break the silence of the swaying grass. Zimbie burst through the grass at a full gallop, going as fast as he can with James stuck on his back. Paddy follows a small distance behind, almost at full speed, stretching his long legs to keep up. At the top of the grassy hill, James brings Zimbie to a halt. The pony obeys. Immediately, they stop for a while to take in the breathtaking view, themselves making a lovely picture. A flustered rat scurries through the grass, across the footpath. He stops a moment to catch his breath, before looks around frantically to see if the big old rattlesnake is still following him. The sound of thunder bursting through the grass scares the rat, and he disappears between the grass into a hole. The big rattlesnake stops on the footpath. He can smell that the rat he has been following has stopped here. His black tongue whisks in and out, smelling the air for a hint of what happened to the rat. A dark glint in his tiny black eyes. The snake looks flustered when he hears the thundering hoofs. He tries to get out the way, but before he manages, the raging beast of Zimbie is on top of him. Instinct makes him lash out to protect himself, and he sinks his fangs deep into Zimbie's muzzle. Zimbie feels the sting and flinches. Immediately, he starts to slow down. James, feeling that something is wrong, looks back, just too late to see the tail of the big rattler disappear in the grass. He brings Zimbie to an immediate halt, jumps off, and walks around Zimbie concerned. What happened? What's wrong? He looks at Zimbie's legs and feet, trying to see if he got a stone stuck in his irons, picking up the left front foot, then the left hind, and the right hind leg. Moving along, he picks up the right front, but sees nothing. James turns to Paddy, who is barking frantically, and asks him to be quiet. Then turns back to Zimbie. He starts leading Zimbie, but notices that Zimbie limps slightly on the front leg on the right side. While going down to see what the matter is, he scolds Paddy, who is still barking. He rubs his hand over Zimbie again. Then he sees it. On the right side of Zimbie's muzzle are 2 trickles of blood. James calls Paddy closer. Paddy, Paddy, come here, boy. Paddy runs over to James. Paddy, you have to go and get help. A snake has bitten Zimbie. James takes Paddy's head between his hands. He presses his forehead against Paddy's. Go call Mom. Go! Paddy looks at James. He barks and wags his tail. Go, boy, go get Mom. Paddy takes off, running as fast as he can. James turns to Zimbie, who is standing with his head hanging down, the poison starting to take effect. James takes Zimbie's saddle off. Tears well up in his eyes. He throws his arms around Zimbie's neck. Paddy has gone to get help. You got to hang on, okay? Zimbie's head gets heavier on James's shoulder. Please, Zimbie, you got to hang on. Patty will bring help. James strokes either side of Zimbie's face. His eyes is only half open. He shifts his legs. This movement sends James into a frenzy again. Come on, Zimbie, you have to be strong. We still have so much to do. Zimbie shifts his legs again. He sways a little and then lies down. James looks up, then around, looking to see if help is coming yet. He sees nothing but grass. Come on, boy, you can't lie down. You have to fight, you have to. He cries hysterically and tries to get Zimbie up again. Zimbie goes from lying to lying flat on his side, his face in the dusty path. Little dust clouds forms where he exhales through his nose. James cannot handle to see Zimbie with his head in the sand. With a struggle, he wriggles in under Zimbie, resting Zimbie's head on his legs. Incoherent, he talks to Zimbie. Patty runs onto the yard. He runs straight to the kitchen, where he knows he'll find Mom. Help! You have to come. James is in trouble, he barks. Gina looks at Patty. She is immediately concerned. What's the matter, Patty? Where's James? Patty runs to Mom and tugs on her apron, pulling her towards the door. Okay, I'm coming. Where's James? Show me, she says as she follows Patty, who runs to Dad's pickup. He barks nonstop, nudging Mom to get in. He runs to the gate and barks yet again. Mom understands what Patty wants and starts the pickup. She honks the horn, long and desperately. Dad comes running. What's wrong? It's James. Something is wrong. Patty came to call me. He's waiting at the gate, she explains hurriedly. Dad runs to the gate while Mom backs up the pickup. At the gate, she moves over to the passenger seat for Dad to do the driving. Come on, Patty, show us where James is, Dad commands Patty from the driver's window. Patty barks as answer on Dad's command and takes off running. Patty runs as fast as he can, leading them to James and Zimbie. Dad follows Patty, driving dangerously fast. Patty comes to a sudden halt. The pickup skids to a standstill. Mom and Dad exist together. James sits with his legs still under Zimbie's head. He is crying while still talking to Zimbie incoherently. Mom falls on her knees next to James. She takes his face between her hands. What happened, James? Are you okay? She asks in concern. And fishing at the lake. You can't leave me, he continues, incoherent, not responding to Gina. James, Gina urges. James looks at her. Slowly, his eyes focus on his mother. Mom! Mom! He throws his arms around his mother, begging her not to let Zimbie die. What happened, James? Dad asks. He is on his knees. He goes around Zimbie, then sees the bite marks. Rattlesnake got him, Dad points out. See here? Dad points to the 2 trickles of blood on Zimbie's face. James only realizes now that his dad is there. His face lights up. Dad, you can save him. You have to, James begs. I'll try my best. It is a very serious bite, though. We will need a good dose of luck to pull him through. Dad gets up, suddenly, hurried. Gina, there's a piece of hose on the back of the truck. Please pass it to me. Gina gets the hose, while Dad is cutting the hose a little shorter. He barks more orders at Mom. Go to my office, get some anti-venom and a syringe. Also, bring something for shade. It is too hot here in the sun. Gina takes off in the pickup, leaving a trail of dust following her. Dad goes down on his knees in front of Zimbie, whose breathing has become shallow and labored. Dad takes the hose and wipes it down. He explains to James what he is doing as he goes about of trying to save Zimbie. James, Zimbie is very sick. He has a hard time breathing, mainly because of the swelling, he explains. He starts inserting the hose into Zimbie's nostril. I'm inserting this into Zimbie's nose. It will help him to breathe. He won't like it. I'm going to need you to hold his head steady. Can you do that? James nods. He leans over Zimbie, holding his head in his arms. Dad inserts the hose slowly, inch by inch. When only a short piece of the tube is left, Dad stops. He bends down and puts his ear at the end of the pipe, adjusts the pipe a little, and listens again. A little smile plays on the corners of his mouth. Do you hear that, James? His breathing is slightly better. Will he live, Dad? James utters, the question playing on his mind. I don't know, James. He had a nasty bite, and he is small too, Dad says, not wanting to discourage James, but also not wanting to lie to him. I can't lose him, Dad. Not him too. We won't give up, James. I will do my best, I promise you. James nods satisfied. Big teardrops falls on Zimbie's face. He strokes the face gently, across the closed eyes, the cheeks, and down his neck. Moments later, Gina brings the pickup to a standstill. She jumps out, a little container in one hand. She rushes over to Dad and hands him the anti-venom. With a negative shake of the head, he answers the question in her eyes. Tears well up in Gina's eyes. She lifts her hand to her mouth to suppress the sob threatening to escape. James looks at Gina, excited to share with her the news that Zimbie is breathing better, but he sees her reaction. Mom, what's wrong? Why are you crying? He asks, suddenly worried. Gina kneels down next to James. James, I'm just worried about you and Zimbie. Gina gets up, takes the big beach umbrella off the pickup, and sets it up behind Zimbie's back. The big multicolor umbrella immediately throws a lovely shadow over Zimbie and James. Paddy lies with his head tucked in between Zimbie and James. He whines softly, looking at James with big brown eyes. James looks down at him. His hand finds comfort on Paddy's head. You did good, Paddy, he praises with as much enthusiasm as he can muster. Paddy wags his tail. The mouth opens and the tongue comes out. Dad draws up the anti-venom, kneels down opposite James, takes the syringe, and administers the anti-venom. He has done all that he can. It's up to you now, boy. I've done what I can, he says as he pats Zimbie's shoulder. You said you won't stop, that you'll do your best to save him. James looks at Dad sharply. I did, James. I did what I could. The rest is up to Zimbie. James started crying. He holds Zimbie's head in his arms. Crying, he pleads, while big teardrops falls on Zimbie's face. You hear that, boy? It is all up to you now. You have to get through this. Gina moves closer to Dad, who puts his arm across her sobbing shoulders. She dabs at her eye with a tissue. Dad, too, has a worried look on his face. The sky turns red in the west. Gina walks to James and put her hand on his shoulder. James, it's time to go. It'll be dark soon. James shakes his head, adamant. I'm not leaving him. He needs me. James, you... Gina starts, but Dad interrupts. I will stay with him. You go home. Thanks, Dad, for everything, James says, and looks at Dad, thankful for understanding. Dad nods and swallows at the lump in his throat. The darkness falls over the small figure, still sitting motionless, with his legs under Zimbie's head. A little distance away, Patty paces up and down, keeping guard. Dad starts a small fire. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for Chapter 11. In the description below, I've included links where you may find and purchase this book. Don't forget to like and subscribe.